this might change. So we started working as a project manager. Can be as easy as you might get couple of resources with working with you, and you can be start learning as a project manager. So that's one way. So don't stop yourself. Sayed Ji, sorry, but I have okay. No problem, Sayed Ji. We can understand. Sayed Ji couldn't speak. No problem, no problem. So this way, basically, we need to shape our career, and you are the right judge rather than anybody else. Can decide it for you. So if you have any question to ask me openly, means don't stress yourself like can I, can't, and kind of stuff. We are going to learn the tools and technique. We are going to understand how project manager performs in a typical role. So we will try to what you can say, encompass all the needs and requirements of tools learning. First of all, you should know Excel, and I believe every one of us knows Excel, Word, and PowerPoint. About that, we're going to learn Microsoft project from Excel, trying to understand how this project plan do work in a real life in terms of helping us out in a day-to-day project planning activities and so on and so forth. So we're going to learn it the raw way as well. So please don't think like you can't be a project manager. We are going to what you can say, equip, we are going to enable you to work as a project manager. Okay, the way I think these delivery of these sessions are basically, you can be easily a senior project manager. Means the way, if you ask me personally, how do you feel in terms of these trainings and delivery, you can be directly as a senior project manager. You might handle two smaller projects. That's how we have prepared these trainings, these course material, and so on and so forth. Does that answer your question, ma'am?
Yes.
I know it's an evolving thing, and we're going to learn how management is really an art rather than a science. Still, we try to apply tools, techniques, standardized template. Then we have quality policies and everything. But in the background, we are more of talking of having this art in detailed way, and that's how I think it out. But again, I might be wrong, I might be different, and again, every person has their own leadership style in terms of balancing out the liberalness and the autocraticness. We are going to learn all these things today. Okay, so you'll start understanding how basically you can tackle the project management roles and responsibility in an evolutionary way. And then if you keep doing these small hands-on workshop we normally discuss in our session, you'll get to know your personal style as well, and you might tweak it a bit, you might enhance it a bit depending upon your learning, your efforts puts in, and then it'll basically take you to a project management chair. That's how I feel it. Okay, does that answer your question up to a certain extent?
Yes, sir. I just don't have the confidence. That's all is the
No,
problem.
you'll get the confidence, believe me. And we might discuss this thing on same, like say 3 weeks down the line, and you'll have the confidence, believe me. That's how these sessions are planned basically. Okay. Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
So anybody can explain what are the influence we discussed last time? EP, EEFs and OPS. Just try it out. Means see, management is not anything which is new or well, which might be modernizing in a way, but still management, if you can understand as a people's behavioral aspect, then you could be able to explain it really easily. So who wants to try what is EEFs and OPS? These will keep coming throughout our sessions till the last sessions, believe me. Anybody wants to try? We discussed this thing last time. Nobody? Okay, no problem. Let me explain it again. No problem, no problem. So here we are talking about influences, and we'll learn why influences and why influence is a major factor in every management. Influences, we are talking about anything and everything affecting your execution. Be it like, making a tea, be it like you are, designing Mars Land Rover, and so on and so forth. Okay, this way we're trying to understand each person's adaptability to the management. Okay, how does it work? So there are some external influences, and there are some internal influences, and there are some helped policies and processes of an organization. So these are the three things we are talking about here. Okay, so normally internal and external influences are covered in EEFs. External Okay, that's it. So in external influence, we are talking about influences which are external to your organization, external to your department as well. But normally, the way PMI thinks it, external to your organization, like all the influence, like new governmental policies change, new surroundings, environmental change, environmental challenges, and all those things. And in internal influences, all the persons and other departments working with you, and there are positive and negative both side of these external as well as internal influences. The environment outside is really, what you can say, I have birthday blue sky, I have really great warm temperature, and so on and so forth. In terms of internal, we are talking about, I really have a great senior project manager, really great domain expertise, which help me wherever I need, and I can ask them to join me in reviewing documents or reviewing anything within a minutes time or hours time or whatnot. So this way, I have a really helping organizations within my organizations. In the worst scenario, I might have my project going on a remote place, so to contact with anybody is a nightmare. It might take us together to get them on a phone to help me out, and so on and so forth. So there are positives and negative in terms of external as well as internal influences. In external influences, we talk about heavy snowstorm, we talk about tornadoes, we talk about COVID, corona, and all those scenarios. Again, it's a normal thought process. Whenever you work remotely, the efficiency goes down by at least 20 to 24%. And these are the industry benchmark which we have understood from the last 2 years or so. So in the project management, we apply these deviations so that whatever we plan to get the work done have these efficiency or inefficiencies included in our project management plan. And this is how the EEFs are being incorporated in your influence parameter as your project in terms of internal OPAs. So OPAs, we talk about processes, policies, procedure, corporate knowledge base as well. So when it comes to processes, policies and procedures, we normally talk about the templatization, the standardization, the quality policies, and everything. So the processes we've adapted, a process of, let's say, flexi timing, as simple as that. So what we say, hey employee, whenever you start working on this project, you are basically free to use the flexi timing policies. In that, you have to be in the office from 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. That's a necessary. Otherwise, you can choose your 8 or 9 hour working as per your convenience. You can come at 5:30, you might leave at 3:30. You can come at 12 o'clock, you can leave at around 8 o'clock, depending upon your personal arrangement and all. You have to inform your superiors and then add up to that flexi timing, and so on and so forth. Then there are templatizations. So whenever you normally have a project budget structure, we have this Excel sheet where it normally incorporates all the calculations we normally use in our project budget thought processes. So you can just start with basic contractual finance, and then take it to a task level or activity level type of budgets you have for a given task, activities, and so on and so forth. When it comes to corporate knowledge base, our company is doing enhancing attendance management type of project for various car manufacturer, for various manufacturing industries. Now if you want to adopt same to the insurance industry, you might do it with a bit of tweaking. So we have all those templates and knowledge with us. So your work as a project manager in terms of building project plan, applying various SMEs to the given project can be reduced by so many hours. And this way the internal OPS helps us out to build a better project management. Okay, last time we have explained this thing in the least possible words. Now today we've explained, or we've trying to understand in a depth way. So please do remember EEFs and OPS. Does anybody have any questions, confusion on these? External environmental factors, that's EEF, and organizational process assets, that's OPA. Okay, and we'll keep discussing these EEFs and OPAs in every knowledge area. These are inputs in most of the knowledge area, so that we are gathering all what we can to basically make the process more efficient, effective, and everything. Does anybody have any question at this moment? Or I can move ahead. Okay, let me move. Now let's try to understand how do you define a project manager. Of course, it's a really big gambit. It's a really big area to be discussed when it comes to a project manager. In shortest possible layman's term, project manager is basically responsible for the project. So anything and everything which is happening to a given project must be included in this project manager's roles and responsibility. And this way we keep learning in terms of an adoption of an organization where you work, in terms of progressive project management understanding. A project manager, a person assigned by performing organizations to lead a team that is responsible for achieving the project objectives. Again, so you are assigned to lead and responsible for achieving the project objectives. So these are the two most important bifurcation of project managers' duties. So you are leading a team. You mean you're not alone. You are working with your team and you to basically do all your operations with these teams. Then we have achieving the project objectives. So whatever project objectives you have defined in terms of core project objective, subsidiary project objectives, or whatever what all objectives you have consider in scope in for that project, that are all to be the responsibility lies on the project manager's shoulder. Now this make project manager differ from the scrum master, from the product owner, from the CEOs, CTOs of the world, from the PMOs of the world, and so on and so forth. So project manager is normally a single person, which is going to which is normally perceived as a leader of a team, and then he shoulder the responsibility of getting things done. And that's the kind of layman's approach to the project manager. The project manager leads the project team to meet project objectives and stakeholder expectation. Now we are evolving these project managers definition in terms of encompassing various roles and responsibility. So first we start with project objectives. Stakeholder expectations are also project managers' objectives. But now when you mention stakeholder objectives as an inclusion to the definition of a project manager, it means that we have to achieve the satisfaction. We have to achieve whatever is expected out of a project managers from stakeholder side as well. The project manager works to balance the competing constraint of a project with the resource available. And this is basically the most practical definition of a project manager, which doesn't align with any of the agile definition, which we're going to learn next week, where we start learning and understanding these definition in terms of how project management methodology does define a project manager, does makes the project managers processes standardized. So the project manager works to balance the competing constraint on the project with the resource available. Why I say this is the most practical? Because wherever you go, you have a constraint in terms of resource, in terms of cost, in terms of schedule as well. And we need to balance. This is what we call quality triangle or triple constraint or golden triangle. There are various means and ways these triangle have been explained in various management books. So to management, every leader has to have a balance the competing constraint on a given project, and typically the resources available. We might not get the exact resource available. The ideal resources can be join the team at 9 o'clock or whatever time, work devotionally towards the project in terms of getting the things done in time, also helps others, and so on and so forth. But in a real world, there are some shortcomings in terms of his skill set, his technicalities, his understanding of the given objectives, the overall what needs to be done kind of on a ground level way, and so on and so forth. So there are gaps in skill, there are gaps in experiences, and so on and so forth. For every resources, as a leader, you need to work with him or her and take it to the best possible outcome. This is how the overall balancing act of a project manager do work in a real life, in a real practical life. The project manager also performs communication between the project sponsor, the product owner, the team members, the developer, the testers, the designers, the architect, and other stakeholders, the users, and so on and so forth. So this way, project manager is also a bridge between the client, the team, the overall top boss of a given organizations. And this way we normally trying to balance the communication or communicate between one to another in a most effective way. And that's why we have a specific knowledge area called project communication management. This include provide direction and presenting the vision of a success for the project with the team, with the vendors, and all those other external parties which are attached to your project. And there are quite a few. Believe me, we're going to learn each of these in a progressive manner via knowledge area. A vendor, a supplier to your project might be a laptop supplier, server supplier, desktop supplier, or whatnot. All these have a kind of vested interest in your project. That's why they can be labeled as a stakeholder. The stakeholder's general definition is wherever you have interest vested or included, you are kind of attached to that project. If you think of Mars Land Rover, it doesn't directly affect any of the outcome, or it doesn't directly contribute in any way, but still I'm concerned about how this Mars Land Rover will run on Mars. Are you with me? Could you understand what I'm trying to say here? Do you feel you are a stakeholder for Mars Land Rover project development? Could you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So this way we normally build the list of stakeholder progressively. Okay. Now let me move to the next topic. In this context, consensus mean the relevant stakeholder support the project decision and actions even when there is not 100% agreement. These things do happen. So even an Indian scientist might describe, Mars Land Rover in his own way, and this is really happened. Believe me, means NASA have, uh, have I think 3 or 4 team members from the DRDO, the Indian Defense Research Organization, to help them out in terms of the lighter vehicle, allies or something, in terms of contributing to the Mars Land Rover. And that's why Indian defense is also kind of an external stakeholder party in terms of contributing to the architecture and design of the Mars Land Rover. Okay, so I'm just trying to describe in terms of how more what you can say inactive or more not participating stakeholder also contribute to your projects in a most in a decisive factor. Okay, let me move on. Again, these are really big topics we need to understand from by ourselves, and we need to evolve our definition. Okay, now let's try to understand management. This is also a big discussion point. We can discuss keep discussing for these understanding management for the rest of our session as well. Okay, but the way I'm trying to limit these things to the project management jobs, roles, and responsibility. So there's a leadership style and there's a management style. So you can be the best leader or you can be a better manager. Again, these are not totally exclusive, but they have a kind of good overlapping parameters also. This is what is expected in terms of the best possible manager working on a day-to-day for a given project. Okay, the purpose of management is to coordinate and organize organizational many operations so that those actions may contribute to the company's achieving its goal. So company's basic achievement of goal is basically to be profitable. Are you with me? So this way, being profitable as a business objective or a core business objective, that's also can be landed on a project manager's shoulder. So we do contribute in cost cutting or what I can say lean management. Using company's resources most effectively and productively is one of the most important aspects of a good business management. So lean management within your team in terms of having the most economical laptop, desktop, which is required for your work execution, or deciding the optimal tools and techniques to save cost, and so on and so forth. We'll learn about these also in detail. Then we have this helps or guarantee the organization is both efficient and effective. Planning, organizing, directing, staffing, managing, and some of the fundamental responsibility of a management in a commercial setting. Why commercial setting? Because all these management gamut, all these management implementation for a given project manager can be really important or described in these 4 5 points we are talking about. So when it comes to management functions, we have a planning, controlling, organizing, staffing, and directing. And these are the basic, what you can say, rules and responsibility of a given project manager. In terms of leadership and management, we have to motivate team members as a leader. We need to set up the communication parameters, tools. We need to delegate our work. We need to have an empathy, stand up to the supervisor, any disagreement diplomatically, then explore the goals to understand how we can achieve more work and more profitability for a given project. Then we have interpersonal skill. We need to coordinate between the management and the team, technical skills, supervise, and so on and so forth. There's a list of skills we have included here, where we need to work with this skill set as a person. We might not have both as of today, but we have to reach there one way or the other. So how do you achieve these? You achieve these with learning new tool set, with achieving new, better control over your, skill set. Something like communication. You can't improve your communication in a day. Believe me, means I really don't have very artistic handwriting. So my mother father in my 4th 5th grade normally we used to send to a handwriting class. Well, it did improve a bit, but hardly, I think 10 to 12%, 10 to 20% more. But that's what we keep improving throughout your life. And this is how we keep getting better day by day. Specifically communication is very important factor as far as the management goes, because we are trying to acquire, or we are trying to address something in the way we report, in the way we guide these team member, in a way we take all these team members with you. So there are liberal communication style, autocratic communication style, and so on and so forth. So we need to understand all these points in detail, and we're going to learn in a progressive way how these behavioral aspects of a person can help or can contribute or can be detrimental to a project manager's day-to-day activities. Okay, again, these are a progressive learning. I am just sharing this with you to get your thought process started, to kickstart our thinking in terms of any such skill set and how it's get implied or improve our day-to-day management activity. As a leader, we have to encompass these things, or we need to cultivate ourselves in a way to understand the management in terms of actual ground level approaches, or build any ground level approaches as we can. And that's how we keep learning in a step-by-step evolutionary fashion. I will not spend too much of your time in this thing. These topics can be discussed throughout our life, and these are really life skills. Means if you improve as a manager, if you improve as a communicator, if you improve as a goal exploring person, believe me, you improve your day-to-day life in a very progressive manner. You have a better clarity, you have a better tools to achieve happiness in a day-to-day life as well. So think it through, okay, and we'll basically reach to a happy man's shoe one day. That's how I take it. Again, we are going to learn the actual ground level tools and techniques as far as a project manager, but on a holistic level, we have to improve your life. If you can't improve your life in terms of better management, we are not learning these best management policies and processes. Okay, so there's a backdrop of understanding these management principle in our day-to-day life as well. Anybody have any question, confusion at this moment, which I can help you out? And please feel free to discuss, specifically discuss your own thought process in terms of how you have improved your way, how you are basically getting better day by day. Okay, no problem. Let me move forward. If you feel like discussing, please start discussing, or you can put it in a chat as well. Okay, thank you. Let me move further. Now, this is sphere of influence. Again, I'm coming back to influence because every management have these sphere of influence or area of influence to be addressed to. And so here as well. So project manager, you yourself, you can influence yourself in the best possible way because you have a total control on yourself. That's what all the project management institutes do believe. So when it comes to a project management, you yourself can improve your styles, can adapt to your new styles whenever you want. Then the next level comes to project team, the other managers, because you normally have day-to-day meeting discussions with other managers as well, and the resource managers or the procurement managers and so on and so forth. Let's take a minute discussing on these managers, other managers within your organizations. Normally what happens when you start managing a project team, normally a PMO or the top management body might suggest you, in case you have any challenge, please contact this person, this buddy. Now this buddy, and there are many great matured organizations who normally work on these buddy schemes. So these buddy schemes are basically, we are talking about a similar project manager who have a bit of more experience than me in a given organizations. On a larger level, overall level, he might have a lesser experience, but he might be with that organization for so many years, so that he can be a good buddy or guidance point for you. And normally every manager will have a buddy, and that's a normal what I can say, set of really improved management style as of today. So this is modern management we are talking about, and that's why you normally work with this project manager, other project manager, in terms of your colleague, your buddy. So in case you have problem with let's say any laptop, desktop, you might call the other manager or a buddy, and he can be a girl or a boy depending upon your management principles. You normally ask her, hey buddy, could you share who is our vendor for these type of instrument. He say, yes, I have my the number on my cubicle, let me share with you, please note down the number. You might basically go to his or her cubicle, take a picture of these things in the today's modern world, and take a printout and paste it in your cubicle as well, because these numbers are important. Might be the local hospital, your vendor X for laptop, desktop, server, cabling, networking, phones, and all those scenario, even the best possible hotel nearby, so that you can have project lunch planned and everything. So like that, you normally coordinate with these guys on day-to-day basis. So other than you have all this nearest possible influence, where you normally work with them effectively on day-to-day basis. And this is kind of other circle of influence. What is the difference between project manager and the team lead? Oh, that's really great question. Thanks, Ruti ma'am. So when it comes to team lead, right? Team lead, we are talking about total leadership than management. So if you can see these things, so all these leadership qualities which we have mentioned in that orange sphere is basically orange sphere, including that green, because green is the overlap, right? Or the this one I'm talking about. This is the total leadership activity that lead normally does. But when it comes to management, you have to have some more understanding in terms of a discipline, public speaking, supervising, negotiation, and blah 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 things. So these are the management. So it's a kind of manager is a basically a superior person in a given team, in a given hierarchy, in a day-to-day project team contributor. When it comes to team lead might lead 3 or 4 team members, at the most 5 or 6, but the manager is normally leading 10 members plus team in a given settings, in a given agile accepted modern project management setting. Okay, now here we are talking about more of increased roles and responsibility as far as the management person. As a team, you're just leading, you're not managing them, the manager is managing you. But yes, you need to motivate them, you need to communicate with them on day-to-day basis, and so on and so forth. So there's a bit of a difference in terms of a lead and a manager. There can be a project lead, there can be a team lead, there can be a tech lead, and so on and so forth. So all these different leaders, even there could be an architect lead or a chief architect, as they might call in Middle East and all those GCC areas. So this way we have these roles and responsibility. Again, these are the thumb rules. Any organizations might tweak it a bit. So you might have a lead domain expert, which normally works with a manager to help him out for a particular domain, for a particular management style, and so on and so forth. Okay, and these PPP managers are normally we call it peripheral managers, and this is what we were discussing. Peripheral managers are basically me working as a project manager, then there's a vendor or procurement manager, there's a resource manager, and so on and so forth. These managers help me out in a day-to-day activity in terms of management of resources, management of procurements. In a normal way, the way we work is basically I do my project management on a day-to-day level. In case if I need to procure something new, I normally put a requisition in a standard company format to my procurement manager. Now the procurement manager, depending upon your organizational policies and processes, put a request, might be request for a quote, might be auction, or might be any procurement way, whatever he or she may think fit, and then procure that item. This might take a couple of days, couple of weeks, couple of months, depending upon your organizational policies and processes and the item you are requested to procure for your project. Same thing, the cost appreciation also. Every organizations have a way to appreciate cost and attach to your project or attach to an organizational level or the sharing in between, and so on and so forth. So all these processes and policies are normally work as a procurement manager external to your project team. And then you normally have these dealing on a day-to-day basis, you working as a project manager, the procurement manager as a procuring something from external. Same thing with resource manager. Resource manager is basically going to procure resources for you as per the skill set you are given. Again, there are costs at play. Sometimes we might need very senior resources, but the procurement manager might say, no, we don't have such a budget. So rather than 10 years, let's go ahead with 6 to 5 years type of skilled resources, so that we can have that salary or the cost of resources appreciated within your project, and that's the budget you have, and so on and so forth. We're going to study these things in detail in the actual project cost management. That's our second knowledge area. But this is how the dealing happens. You as a leader of a team, leading the team in terms of cost, schedule, scope, and every other thing in terms of resource management, in terms of procurement management. But these PPP manager who are working with you on day-to-day basis to help you out to deliver your project better, efficient, and cost-effective as well. And that's how we normally work with these PPP manager. Again, it's a thought process in terms of getting things done as a team, as an organization. Okay, they're great, no problem. These PPP managers have been explained in PMI book in a really great day. So you can go there, and they normally given the good examples as well. So my first level of influence is project manager. Second influence is basically all the team and the other managers working closely with me. I can influence them in terms of my team. I might request my team to stay throughout the weekend, so that we can basically build our deliveries better in time, and so on and so forth. Same thing with the procurement manager, same thing with the resource manager. I might coordinate with these managers to request them, hey, could we fast track this procurement, because I think we might need that thing earlier, because I'm completing my task, my activities in some proactive manner. I might request resources as early as the resources management manager can disburse to me, can give it to me for my project work. And this way, these things do happens in a real world. And I normally, eat lunch or share various discussions with other managers on day-to-day basis in a given organizations also. So that's why these are my second level of influence. Then there's a third level of influence. Now, these guys are not in your, day-to-day touch, or you normally don't speak today on day-to-day basis, but still they are involved in your project. They are also kind of influencing your work internally or externally. The sponsors. Sponsors are, you can call sponsors as a product owner as well. So these guys sponsor the project, so they have the most keen interest in understanding your efficiency, understanding your progress, and so on and so forth. So they might keep calling you daily basis. Now as far as agile scrum goes, we have moved this product owner or the most important stakeholder in our day-to-day call. So whenever you learn agile scrum, you'll understand we have something called daily stand-up meeting, scrum meet, or you can label it in a different way to that meeting, but there's a meeting on every day for a 15 minutes. That's how we are detailing the templatization and standardization. For 15 minutes we have a meeting with the product owner, the complete team member, and we try to address question like, okay, what have we achieved till date, till this time, what are the agenda as of today's to get completed, to create, test, and all those things, and what are things basically planned for tomorrow, and so on and so forth. So this is basically a kind of daily progress meetings which we do with sponsor and the product owners as well. So normally we are trying to increase the project the influence sphere of influence in terms of day to day addressing the challenges. And that's how agile scrum is the most favored project management methodology as of today, which we learn from Perna ma'am in couple of sessions. So here we are talking about improving the project manager's sphere of influence. So we have understood first, second, now we are understanding the third. So sponsors, the governing bodies, the steering committees, the budgetary review bodies, and so on, auditory bodies, and so on and so forth. And then project management office, PMO. PMO is a body of a senior managers in a given organization, which normally helps each and every project manager to get everything on track, to basically make that standardization applied, and try to choose the best possible way for a current project execution. Many of the project manager might use Microsoft Project, but for some project we can just do with the Microsoft Excel also. So we are not consuming big cost on a software license also. Now this way, all these PMO help each and every project manager to make sure, specifically in terms of costs, specifically in terms of profitability. And that's how these third level of influence have a really great effect on your project, because we have cost audit, budget audits, and all differently labeled audit, but in a real life or a practical approach is to reduce cost and increase efficiency. And that's how these PMOs normally review your project, audit your project as per the company policies and procedure. There are many organizations which we have weekly project review or a sprint wise project review. Sprint is a basically development or creation cycle every project manager's plan for an iterative development. You're going to understand this iterative development in depth with Prerna ma'am in I think the sessions which we conduct from Tuesday or something like that. So this is the third level of influence. Now the fourth level of influence, which is a kind of least influence parties or least influence stakeholders in your project. Now as we discuss stakeholder, right? Let's say you are developing an attendance management system which has to be used by every employee in a given organization, even the guest also, right? So you need to understand the stakeholder, the interested party on a given on a given product. As they are users, they have a say, they must be comfortable using that system, right? And that's how these users do have a direct or indirect effect on your requirement, effect on your project product features, and feature list, functional list, and performance parameter also. Let's think of a car where you can get a Dodge Neon at 15k, and there are Honda Civic which you can get at 70k. In terms of user perspectives, when it comes to gas mileage, Dodge might give you anybody have Dodge Neon car here? How much is the current Dodge Neon mileage? Anybody? Hello? Anybody using Dodge Neon car?
No.
Okay. Um, okay. Let's consider a hypothetical figure here. Let's say Dodge Neon has a 12 gallons per miles, and Honda Civic have 15 gallons per miles. Now, when it comes to user, that 2,000 extra payment on the car price to be justified, he has to consider how many miles he normally drive on a given day, on a given week, and so on and so forth. So that's how he normally go for purchasing one car than another. Normally, these two cars have same boot space and all those space parameters. But overall, if you look at in terms of actual usability of a car, Dodge Neon is more okay. So 25 to 20 to 25 miles per gallon. Okay, that's okay. Pardon me for that number. Now this way, what we are trying to do, we are trying to basically understand the user adaptability of a given product, be it a neon car, be it a Dodge Neon car, or be it a Honda Civic car. The car are similar shape and size, speed ratio, but the I think resale cost is better in Honda Civic, and the miles per gallon is better in Honda Civic. That's why they can sell that similar car with a premium of $2,000 or something like that. Now this is how every product and every feature functionality gets weighted by these users, and that's why all these users are a critical stakeholder, and that's why we normally adopt to a process also. Rather than requirement gathering, we call it user story collection. The user story get collected as a story told by the user, as in his or her adaptability of that product and feature in his own in his own words, in his own saying. And that's how we are basically adapting to the stakeholder or the users on a day-to-day level, in terms of the fourth level of influence, where I can't influence them. If a user need better less maintenance car, then I should go with the Honda Civic, or long run car, I should go with the Honda Civic, and then I might suggest him to go for a Honda Civic with couple of more thousands to spend initially. Now this way, this is how the real life works, and that's why I've given you that's why I've given you the example, because a Honda, which is kind of East Asian country based organizations, trying to sell a car in North America or Canada with a premium price than a local car. So imagine the cost of production, the differences, the import and export duties, and so on and so forth. But still, there are more number of cars sold in terms of Honda Civic than a Dodge Neon. Even Honda Civic is very popular with the college going kids as well, because these are entry level cars. These are the smallest and economical car for their budget. And this is how the whole product, what you can say, shelf life, product shelf planning do happens in a real market. And this is how, as a manager, I need to understand for my product as well, whatever product, project, solution, support I'm developing. I need to understand my stakeholder, end users, the suppliers, the customers, end user. These all means one and the same thing, but these are the persons whom I can't influence on a day-to-day basis. So I need to go to their world, their day-to-day life, and understand which is more feasible for them, and then increase my product sales, increase my product strategies, change my product to the adaptability of these end users. Does that make sense? Could you understand the four level of influences? There are very few interviews where they have asked, could you please explain a level of influence or sphere of influence of a project manager? And this is how it's important, because whatever you plan to do, you have to understand the adaptability. You have to understand how you can increase your sales or build a strategy in a way so that you can build a best sellable product. This is most stunningly explained in building of Apple phone, believe me. And there are various what you can say, blogs, write-ups available on the net free of cost, of understanding the manager's influence in terms of building the best product. And that's the Apple phone, because it changed the market perceptions in a such a astonishing way that everybody then start thinking how I can please the user. Even in countries where they were basically monopolizing their products, they also start considering users as a most influential parameter for their product solution support services. In India specifically, if I may explain, specifically in Telangana or Andhra Pradesh, they started with these they call it what you can say public center or something like that, so that the end consumer or a citizen should go to a place, a one stop shop to fill its taxes, to do everything to interact with the state government or a central government. That's how they started these one stop shop for all citizens. And so we normally, even today, try to improve our project solution support services for the end user in terms of adapting to the fourth level of sphere of influence as well. Does that make sense? Anybody have any contradictions? Anybody want to say something? Share their, understanding of these influences? Please do participate. This makes our learning a bit easy, understanding a bit easy. I can be a part, or you can explain your experiences also. And that way we can basically understand from other experiences in terms of these sphere of influence as well. Do anybody wants to explain their experience?
So I can explain a little bit of my experience.
Please go ahead.
I just, as you know, sir, I just started a new role as a senior portfolio analyst.
Wow.
I'm on the same level as project managers with the institution that I work for, and so we have we have the vice presidents above us, and they control all the projects. They're the project owners.
Mhm.
And so what we do is we manage each project, each portfolio of the institution, work with the project manager and analysts to push through each project before the deadline. So
Wow. So basically, you are have a kind of active participation in planning,
yes,
and that's why
planning.
yeah, you need to consider these influences, adaptability to your project planning as well. That's really great way. That's really great way, and that's a kind of really crucial contributory factor to a given project. I can clearly
Yeah,
understand that.
yeah.
That's it.
Everything from like intake or conception of the project to executing, and then to delivering, and then also maintaining.
Right, right. So all parts of the managements basically. That's really
Yeah.
great. And does everybody understand what Ajay sir has just shared with us? Any confusion there? Yes. Thanks a lot, Ajay sir. Let's move on. And this is the way we can participate more and we can learn more. If you share your own experiences, you can understand the fitment of our learning as well. Okay. Now, management, as I discussed, it's really a vast topic. The way we should adopt, the way we should learn is basically trying to understand how we have used it in the past, how our experiences have been built on these, different events. And that's how we keep progressively learning how we can implement these best policies, processes, thought processes, so that we can achieve better management and control in our day-to-day life as well. Thanks a lot, Ajay. Let's move on. These are small instances, but these really do matter in our day-to-day life, in our day-to-day adaptability of these management principles and processes. Okay, now here I've just mentioned a couple of topics to be understood in terms of uh, understanding the length and breadth of the manager. Now, this is what they call PMI talent triangle. So what all the skills we are looking for? Again, this is a proprietary of, PMI PMbook, and they have really put a great thought in building this triangle. I believe they spent almost around 3,000 plus hour in developing this PMI triangle. So this is a really great way. Let's try to understand. When it comes to a manager, there are some requirement of technicalities. There are some requirement of strategic business management type of thought processes, and there are some leadership quality we are talking about. Now, if you look at these things, there are only leadership and management. Here we have included strategic and business management as well. And this is how we keep evolving our management thought process in terms of how I can be a better project manager. The way I adopt or build my skill progressively is a really important thing in terms of a project manager, a person moving to the leadership role and progressing to a managerial or a senior managerial role. The most important points to read from a PMI PMbook are technical project management skills as it required for a manager. Depending upon your project at hand, you might require more or less, but you should have a know-how of what all needed for a given project, what level. You might put in some efforts in learning some more in depth, or sometimes you feel I have enough knowledge in terms of technicality of a given project, product, solution, support as well. Same thing with strategic and business management skill. Strategic in the sense long-term planning we are talking about. Normally a thumb rule of planning a longer than a 6 months type of policies and processes. Same thing with business management skills. And here we are talking about whenever there's a business, think about it as a profitability measures. So business management skill, all the profitability, lean management, efficient management for a strategic nature. Then the leadership skill. Again, leadership, you can think of all, these things, whatever we mentioned in the orange and the green sphere, where we are talking about motivation, communication, interpersonal skill, technical skills, supervisory ability, decision making, goal exploring, empathy, and so on and so forth. So there are all these skills we are talking about in terms of a leadership skills. And then comparison of a leadership and management. Here we are talking about the overlap of a business management with the leadership, how to guide others in terms of why profit making is an important task for this project, why every project should be profitable, and guiding them on even organizational goals as well. For every execution we do, there is a link to business. If the project is not profitable, it might be something like you are building the brand value, you are increasing your sales imprint for a given region, and so on. So then performing integration, integrating all these three. Think about a project management, leadership, and strategic management. The best example of this is basically adaptability to the open system. Now let's take a minute of understanding what is open system. Open system are the product which can be used freely without any licensing cost. Even if you wants to take any support or thing which is available at the least possible cost, like $20 per year type of support, and so on and so forth. Now, why do you normally go with open system? You might need to spend some extra effort in integration there, but still you are ready to spend those many extra effort at some marginal extra cost, but you are saving on a licensing cost, because licensing cost of using any tool, be it something like Microsoft Project, Jira, they are normally at a costlier level or a higher cost level. But when you go to open system, these are free of cost most of the time, or you might pay a very little marginal cost, and that's how you normally go with the open system. Even the efforts are more. If the resources are available to you, if the schedule is really flexible in terms of, rather than delivering before July, I might delivering in September. If that's a possibility, I might go with the open system in every project, because I'm saving the basic assets cost, as they call it. We're going to understand all these type of cost in the first and second knowledge area. Even we'll learn how to adapt to these assets in terms of our project planning as well. Then in 3.5.1, performing the integration at a process level, integration at a cognitive level, and integration at a context level. Now these are all three different types of integration we might discuss in terms of understanding the integration management knowledge area. That's the first knowledge area we're going to start with. That's why integrating or combining the whole efforts towards the technicality, leadership, or strategic and business management is the most important thing a project manager does. And this is what we call the best start best start is a half done. Because if you start in the best possible way for any project, it's like kind of half the worries have been addressed to start with. So this is why performing integration or the integration project management is one of the most prominent thing which we do at the start of the project. And this is what we're going to learn in project integration management. Okay, let me move forward. Now, yes, we normally have a kind of workshop here where we'll try to understand, try to build a thought process of, how to lead team, how to define team, how to, build a ground rules. Now, what we do here in terms of, like we said, enhancing attendance management system project. Now, what I would really, you to think it through, and this is not a kind of building a project plan, but trying to understand how to implement this integration project management knowledge area in terms of you with your current experience. So try to build a bullet-wise project plan in terms of building this integration project management, enhancing attendance management project. So you might put a bullet points, collect the knowledge from the business analyst, build a rough sketch in terms of timelines, and you might give a real timeline. Let's say you have a project of, let's say, 10 million. That's the project contract have been signed on. We need to deliver in next 6 months. Then you might start planning how many resources I can take, what type of laptops I can use, what type of software I can use, in terms of the lean management, in terms of the least asset spending, and the least operational cost spending, and the most efficient project plan. So give it a thought, build a basic project plan for enhancing attendance management solution for a state farm. You can be manager at Guru School, and without any tool, you are just building some bullets point in addressing the current nature of a project plan. Okay, does that make sense to you? What it should address is basically how you're going to lead the team to understand this project, because you need to explain this project plan to your team, right? Whoever starts working with you. Build a team and define the team ground rules. Empower the team members and the stakeholder in terms of explain to them what you are building, what you are developing. Mentor the relevant stakeholder in terms of how you will get, when you will get, and how you're going to access those systems as well. Ensure the team members, stakeholders are adequately trained. Negotiate the project agreement. Let's park this as of now. Collaborate with stakeholder. Yes, you normally have a daily scrum meet to synchronize your development plan, your development thought process with them. We are not building a concrete plan here. We are just trying to build an initial integration management plan where we try to address what all it considers in terms of how to start in a best possible way. Build a shared understanding. That's what we are trying to do. Understanding. Engage and support virtual teams. This is specifically I've included when we were doing the these trainings via virtual team meets, or virtual Zoom sessions, or virtually, because we are not we couldn't go to office on a day-to-day basis. This is still the scenario though, but yes. So this way, try to work out or try to put down your thought process in an Excel sheet, Microsoft Word, or a pen and paper document, and we will discuss this in our next session, so that we'll understand how a project manager kickstart his thinking for a given project. A simple project like enhancing attendance management. We me working as a project manager for Guru Schools, gone to State Farm in said office and discuss these enhancement of their attendance management system from a manual attendance to a automated 24/7 attendance. That's what we discussed in our high level diagram, and try to jot down a plan there. Does that make sense? Anybody have any questions at this moment? Wow, this is good. Everybody understood, everybody is brilliant. Sure. Let's go ahead. Now let's try to understand the role. Now we are stepped into a project manager role. Let's try to understand how we implement all these thought processes. As far as PMI or the best project management institutes, they say we need to implement this triangle called leadership, talent, strategic, and technical. So we are basically implementing all these 4 different skill sets as a project manager together. A new chapter on the role of project manager, we discuss the PMI talent triangle and the skill sets organizations demand that make the project managers more competitive and relevant. A technical project management, leadership, strategic, and business management skills here as a mix and match of a project management role. This is how we work. So we do have some skill in terms of leadership. We do have some skill in terms of how to manage talent within my team. We do have some technical skill as required for a given product, project, solution support. And we do have business strategic and business skills to understand the organizational implementation challenge, organizational implementation for a given management executions. I believe you understood this thing. This is all the crux of whatever we're discussing till this point. Anyone to share their understanding or their any question at this moment for me? Anybody? Again, these are all big management topics. We can go on discussing these themes till end of our session as well, but we need to limit ourselves in terms of understanding relevant to our the current project at hand type of thought processes. Does anybody have any questions, confusion at this moment? You can hear me, right?
I have a question.
Please go ahead, sir.
So with the project, with the talent triangle, how important is technical versus, for example, I have less of a technical background, but more of strategic and business as well as leadership. How much technical is, for example, like PMP exam, how technical does it get?
Really great question. There are 2 questions here. For a given project, how technical I should be, and for a PMI exam, how technical I should be. Really great question. Believe me, again, on a practical level, every organizations have their ways and means of implementing technicality to the actual business plan or to the actual project plan specific. Okay, now these there could be a kind of difference for different project as well. So whenever you start understanding any technicality on a ground, it depends on the project manager as well as organizations and the mix and match of both. Let's say this is a question like should the husband be dominating, should the wife be dominating on a given day? Again, it depends on the situation, depend on the what I can say work at hand, or depending on the solutions to be found at a given time, right? And we can be autocratic and liberal or a mix and match of that. Similarly, on a ground level for a project manager, the technicality, the liberalness, the autocraticness, again, depends on how the situation demands. If the project is too technical and you're not enough technical, the organizations might not allocate that project to you. This is what we try to find out whenever we get the business management or whenever we get the business analyst output called SRS. So after SRS, the senior management, the PMOs of the world, they sit together and try to decide how much technical and how much strategic or business balance do we need for a given project manager. And then they choose such leader or such technical or non-technical PM for a given project. This is for the ground level project technicality. When it comes to PMI, again, in terms of PMI, they say the project manager needs to have around 35 to 50% of technicality. So you should understand the domain. So when you start working with something like banking domain, you should have knowledge of the banking, workflows, policies, processes, or the terminology, like something like the basic processes needed for the banking solution, the account registration, the what are the functionality the bank normally has in terms of overdraft facility, the loan facilities, the interest, charging facility or the penalty facilities and all those things. Again, on a given level, the PMI thinks in a given exam, you might get technical questions in the vicinity of 35 to 50%. Now, this is again a thumb rule. In some exam, they might ask more technical questions and less business and strategic question. Again, this is the balance we live throughout our life in terms of being technical. Let's say you have a challenge with your car. Should we get the toolbox out and start repairing the car? Not every time, but for a minor things like my wiper is not working. So what I do, I go to a mall, I go to a Sam's Club, which is near, and I have the card and everything, something like that. So I'll get a most available in terms of durability and all. I have my own preconceptions, I have my own experience to guide that thing. So I'll get a set of wipers and just change the wiper by myself. But if there's a problem with engine is making some weird sound, this thing do happen in our real life, right? I don't start opening the engine, right? In North America or Canada, we do have all highly tuned engines, which is normally not opened by the individuals. But if you're really stuck at a really remote place, you might give it a try. Again, those are the extreme circumstances. So again, all these things are driven by the circumstances and the scenarios you're facing at that given time. Even to address this question in terms for a particular interview, even the JD basically guides you in terms of typical technical or non-technical project manager required, and they specifically categorically mentions also most of the time a technical project manager is required, and so on and so forth. Does that answer your question, sir?
Yes, sir. That was perfect
Thank you.
because you mentioned banking specifically, it helped so much because that's the new role that I took was in a bank.
Right. And for such scenario, you can go to YouTube and search for banking software products so that you'll understand what type of products are available and what are the facilities they have. Even if you just browse through the feature list and functionality, you'll start understanding what type of functionality are crucial to the bank. And this is how we gain the domain knowledge, sir. And this is how I normally guide to you whenever you showcase me a JD saying, hey Ravindra, this is a new JD came to me. They require a project manager for building a new building for that matter. So you and me will both go to the YouTube and search for how to construct a building or building construction at such and such area, because it depends on the lands, the firmness of the land, and various other factors, the environmental factors. So we might learn on them. We try to jot down number of points for a specific type of business, and this is what we call domain understanding, domain knowledge, and how we keep building this domain knowledge for a given job description as well. Whereas I have a technical background but not management. Yes, Shruti ma'am, I can clearly understand. Okay, management is a really great subject. When you say I don't have a knowledge of management, the way Devji normally explain these things, if you are a mother, you are managing your kids, you are managing your house. In an Indian culture context, the wife or the mother is basically the leader of the house. She do lead the house, she do manage the day-to-day expenses of the house, and so on and so forth. In the most of the scenario, again, these are the thumb rules. I can't pick a lady and say, okay, she's managing the whole house. But there are, most of the ladies who are managing the house. Could you understand, Shruti ma'am, what I'm trying to say here?
Yes, sir. So
Do you have kids?
projects earlier, but not in the industry, not in a professional way, but in the universities, I've managed projects. Yeah.
Wow. See, so you have management experience. See, okay, now we are
Yeah.
talking about domains here. Now we are talking about the technicality, what Ajay ji have said. So technicality is basically, the fitment to the end. Technicality can go to something like banking, overdraft facility. Does that bank give overdraft facility? Yes, to a very few. Means out of 10,000 customers, the overdraft is available for only 5 or 6. Now these are the exceptions, right? So these are the technicality of the functionality adapted for a given solution project support services. This is what we tend to understand. But on a day-to-day life, I do manage everything, right? Means we are all highly educated persons. We are managing our life, and that's also management. Believe me. Don't ever think like I'm not doing management. Believe me. Even whenever you get up, you normally try to do, oh, what are the works I have had man today. So you normally browse to your to-do list. You might don't have a to-do list. You might not have a to-do list built, but you normally go through it. And that's our culture. That's our learning. That's how human works. And that's how we do have management. It can be something like 10%, 20%, or you might have 50-60%. Again, these numbers only you can answer, because your culture, your upbringing, your education, your experience. All these things do count in our management, or how I respond to a given solution or a problem. Does that make sense, ma'am?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So that's why we are managers. And Indians are basically, as we normally called, jugadu people. Have you understood the word jugad? Anybody don't
Yes,
know?
sir.
Anybody don't know the word jugad? Okay, I believe everybody knows. And Indians, we are jugadu. Believe me, means when I started working on Java, it was this was, I'm talking about 97, 98. We used to work with our, US partner, and Java was new. Means literally it used to, show critical failures all the time. Even if you develop a small class or application, it used to throw you illegal operation perform, the program will shut down, and those kind of what we used to call blue screens. But still, we got that working. We learned to work around it. We learned to work around that platform itself, which are developed by few great scientists. And that's how even Java got matured. This is all part and parcel of management, getting things done. That's what the management is all about. And we do in everyday life. So please believe yourself as a manager. You're managing, you're addressing the jugards in your day-to-day life. You're addressing the problems in your day-to-day life. Even sometimes, we do change electric bulb as a lady. And I've seen specifically in Indian, families in North America specifically, because the labor is so cost. You can't, request somebody else to come and, change the light bulb. We do it by ourselves. And this is the normal scenario. Okay. So yes, we are the manager. Okay. Let me move on. Now we'll start with basic, knowledge area and the chapters. Let's take a few minutes, and I'll try to explain how we'll start the knowledge area from our next, session. The first project management knowledge area is project integration management. This includes the processes, activities to identify, define, combine, unify, and coordinate the various processes of the project management activity within the project management group. And this is, I'm talking about chapter 4. I'll share the MP3. I'll share the link of the MP3 on our Google Drive, so that you can start reading or start listening to this chapter 4 in the PMbook 6th. Okay. Now this project management knowledge area normally have these 5 process groups. So we have initiating process group, planning process group, executing process group, and monitoring and controlling process group, and closing process group. These names are self-explanatory, but still initiating is basically you're initiating or starting something. Planning in the sense you're starting planning for the given project. The hands-on workshop we discussed under, it falls under developing project management plan. And this is a kind of Word document or an Excel sheet we are talking about. The executing process group, direct and manage project work. Here we direct and manage project work in terms of guiding the team members, guiding the designers and architect to basically manage the project effectively, or to basically execute the project work in a efficient, uh, quality and least cost type of way, and manage project knowledge else also. So either acquire knowledge from the older such educations or build our own knowledge base if you are trying to do this thing for the first time. In monitoring and controlling process group, a continuous monitoring and controlling of a project work on a day-to-day basis, hour by hour basis, and perform integrated change control. So integrated change control is whatever you build, whatever you created, you are integrating with the total product on a progressive level. So in today's good best practices world, we build everything incrementally. We do integrate the things incrementally for a client and then deliver it to the client. In terms of closing process group, whenever you are successful, whenever you have completed the work, whenever you have completed the project, solution support services, you normally close the project and you release all the resources. Now again, close the process phase also is not a ribbon cutting ceremony. You might start releasing resources progressively for a month, for a week, for a day, for a sprint, and so on and so forth also. So closing process group is also kind of processes. So processes means it's not just a one day, one time, one instance. It's basically you are building it, you are evaluating it in a real time evolutionary manner. You keep making it better day by day. That's what the management is all about. So management on a crux, basically getting things done better next time or trying to improve the current policies and processes as well. And that's why the knowledge management is very crucial part to a given project. Does that make sense? Any question, confusion on this as of now? This is what we're going to start learning from our next session. The first project management knowledge area called project integration management. There are total 10 knowledge area and we'll learn about them as well. But integration is basically kind of umbrella activity where we start building these, thought process for starting up a project. What are things do we need? What are things do we have? What are things we need to procure? How are the costs looking? How are the budget looking? And so on and so forth. We'll build it evolutionary. We'll build it in a step by step. Rather, you can say it's a 10-step process. And that's how we will build and improve our project plan on each of these steps. Does that make sense? Anybody have any confusion, contradiction? I started recording, right? Yeah, I'm recording. Sometimes I do forget. I'm a human and this is how we keep improving ourselves. Yes. Anybody have any questions as of now? Am I audible? Okay, sure. Thank you. Thank you. So please go through these things and let me share the MP3 recording as well so that you can listen to it whenever you get a time. And in the next session, that'll be on. Oh, come on. Let me. Next session day after tomorrow. Today is 24th live. So we have our next session on. So today is 23rd. We'll have our next session on 25th Saturday morning. So Saturday is a great time to start learning project management knowledge area. It's a weekend and we'll keep improving our thought process in a step-by-step manner. Okay, if you get a time, or I would really request you to pull out half an hour of time and try to give a thought to these workshop as well, where try to understand. I'm going to share the PPT also with you so that you can have a look at these bullet points again. Try to create a thought process, a personal your thought process. Let's understand you're working for a project manager at GuruSchools. You're trying to understand the knowledge shared by you with the business analyst, with the SRS, right? And try to span it, project plan. It can be something like integrated project plan, or you can just call it a project plan and try to put some bullet points here. I just want to kickstart your thought process in terms of what are the basic elements you as a person, you as an artist will take into account whenever you start building this project plan. Does that make sense, so madam?
Yes, sir.
Okay, no problem. Thank you. Let's stop here. Let's meet again a day after tomorrow, same time. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Have a good night. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you, sir.
Most welcome.
Thank you.
Bye.